Zionists claim that their movement is the national liberation movement of the Jewish people. Leaving aside the notion of the Jewish people, people from all over the world, different colours, different languages, religious, not religious, and what they have in common, leave that as paradoxical. Zionism saw itself from its inception as a colonising movement, not as a movement of liberation, but a movement of colonial domination of an area, and that was how they talked about themselves. They had a colonial bank, they were self-consciously colonialist. And there's nothing strange about that, because Zionism is born at the end of the 19th century, when Britain and Belgium and France and Germany are carving up Africa. They're invading, they're massacring, they're pillaging and raping large parts of Africa and the rest of the world. And if European Jews decided that, hey, if everybody else is doing it, we should join in the frenzy, there's nothing strange about it. It was very much a minority movement among Jews, the great majority of whom aligned themselves with left parties and wanted to stay in Europe and improve their lot and fight against their enemies together with Gentiles, with non-Jews. But Zionism is a response to very real anti-Semitism. I mean, Jews were massacred in the Tsarist Empire, they were herded into ghettos, they suffered severe discrimination, such that millions of them moved to North America when they had the opportunity. And the Zionist movement grows up as a minority concern within that Jewish community. So we have to concede that anti-Semitism in Europe was extremely real, was a very powerful force, and not belittle that in any way. The reaction to anti-Semitism, however, that Zionism represented is not something that we need to make any concessions to whatsoever. Zionists argued two things. One, that Palestine was an empty place. They talked about a land without people for a people without a land, i.e. Jews were scattered across many different countries. They had no home country. But Palestine was empty. The facts belied that, of course. I mean, in 1897, the Zionist movement sent two rabbis famously to Palestine to check the place out. And they came back and said, well, the bride is indeed beautiful, but she's taken, she's married to another man. As in, there are lots of people there, there's thriving orange industries exporting to Europe. This is not an empty land by any stretch of the imagination. But Zionism was not unique in seeing Palestine as empty, despite the presence of millions of people. Because every settler colonial movement, whether it's the British going to Kenya or South Africa, or the Spaniards to South America, or Anglo-Saxons to North America, it's empty of the right kind of people. There may be lots of people there, but they're kind of invisible to the incomers. They're the wrong kind of people, and they're a problem that has to be removed or forced into smaller and smaller areas while the settlers take over everything that's best there. So the Zionists argued that Palestine was empty. It very clearly wasn't. But it's worth noting that that myth survives even to the present day. Just last year, during the massacres in Gaza, I debated with a Zionist in Glasgow called Paul Moron, and he trotted out the same thesis put forward in a now discredited book by Joan Peters called From Time Immemorial, that Palestine was empty until dynamic Jews from Europe arrived, dynamic economically, and this sucked in Arabs from neighbouring countries. Sheer fantasy. But we're not opposed to Zionism only because it's a colonising movement that's lethal for Palestinians, murderous for the people who occupy the land and the resources that they wish to appropriate. We oppose Zionism because it's axiomatic for that movement that Jews cannot live in Europe, have to decamp. Zionism is an accusation against every single one of us that we are inherently and incurably racist to such an intense degree that Jews must leave and fall upon the innocent people of Palestine because they can never be safe in our midst. So to sum up, Zionism is a colonial movement, and one can oppose and detest and despise such a movement just as one could oppose a Catholic state under General Franco, a Protestant state for Protestant people in Northern Ireland, and a white state in South Africa. And one condemns it on the basis that we are democrats. But anti-Semitism is a species of racism. Zionists sometimes flag up anti-Semitism that's unreal, that's phony, but it's also a sleeping beast that we have to be careful about as well. Very real anti-Semitism we hate and oppose. Phony anti-Semitism propagated by some Zionists is a dangerous crying wolf that we oppose as well. Our president, who passed away last year, was married a couple of years ago, was Marian Wolfson, called by an Israeli daily newspaper the most dangerous anti-Zionist in Britain. We're very proud of Marian. We're very proud to stand in that tradition of total hostility to Zionism and all its crimes, while at the same time insisting that we all stay clean of any taint of anti-Semitism or any other species of racism.